In this lesson, we will learn how to deploy the clients. Lesson 4, deploying clients. We have a number of objectives to meet in this lesson. The topics: we're going to cover the client requirements and deployment methods, preparing for the client installations, the client installation settings and features, installing managed clients, configuring an unmanaged detector, and upgrading the SEP client. Let's look at the requirements and deployment methods first. We can see the operating system requirements for Windows systems here. We have 32-bit and 64-bit options that are supported. And we also have Mac and virtual support now. Here we can see the client hardware requirements and the base memory and storage requirements. Note that Linux is not an available supported platform. So the client deployment methods that are available to us: we can use the client deployment wizard, the CDW, or we could use the Symantec management platform, or we could use the third-party options that you maybe already have used in the past. So if we run the client deployment wizard, the options that are available to us are to use the web link and email. This will create a client package that will then send the email with the link to the user. We could use the remote push. The remote push will enable you to control the client installation. Or we could use the save package option, which will create the custom package and save it locally for third-party deployment. Let's have a look at how we prepare for the client installation. So preparing computers for the client installation, there are a number of steps we have to cover. We need to identify if the clients are managed or unmanaged. When we mean managed, we mean they're being managed by the SEPM, under control for policies and security features. If they're unmanaged, they're not reporting directly and frequently to the SEPM manager. We need to think about our group structure and maybe create those groups. We need to decide on our deployment method and prepare those computers for the installation. We then need to configure the client install settings and features, and then export possibly the client settings and features to create those install packages. So first of all, identifying the computers to be managed or unmanaged. To say the managed clients are the most common option. That gives you complete control over those clients. We're deciding on their policies and their features. They will stay connected to the network most of the time and report back to the SEPM manager, uploading their log information. The unmanaged client are often used by intermittent connectivity users, ones that maybe are working from home. Identifying and creating the groups. So here we can see the My Company and default group structure that are created on installation of the SEPM, and we've created a new group. I would recommend giving it a reasonable name. New group is not a good name. Choosing the deployment method. So we now need to decide how we're going to deploy these packages out to the clients. We need to create those install packages and deploy the software, and here we could use the client deployment wizard. That's the easiest and recommended method. We can choose the web link and email or the remote push. The web link and email option will mean the local user, the primary computer user, would have to select the link in the email, and they would need to have admin rights on their system to install. It may be that we need to manage the firewalls, either disabling or enabling them. The Windows firewall is on by default, so we would need to disable that to enable the SMC-EXE to gain access to the system. Here we can see the table of ports and firewall ports that may need to be opened to enable management and access between the SEPMs, the clients, and other components. So what do we need to do to prepare the computers for remote push deployment? Note that any Windows XP systems that are in workgroups, i.e. not in domains, cannot be managed for remote push. Prior to installing the client software, we need to make sure that the systems are as clean as possible and remove any viruses or spyware that may well be hiding there. So ensure that you've run your antivirus, your current antivirus software. If you don't have one, then you could download the CERT tool from the Symantec website or run the standalone Power Eraser option. We need to evaluate all other security software that's resident on the computer system. We don't want to run more than one virus, adware or spyware program. Running more than one will certainly severely hit performance. So let's have a look at preparing the client installation and feature settings. So we need to configure those client installation packages. The steps on the right are the steps you would typically do. So you need to define those client installation settings first of all. Here we're in the admin page and selecting install packages. And we need to define those feature set along with the settings. We may well export those client installation packages, and we could use the install files in the package on the client computers. So let's have a look at the settings install tab now. Note that we can choose the installation type. We can show the progress bar, we can have it set to silent or interactive. We can choose to install to the default folder or change that. We can select the enable logging and choose the log file path name. We could, on step 4, choose not to submit the reputation information to the SSR. Remember, the reputation information is the information about the files that you're accessing and how good they are, as in reputation detail, to enable us to use that for the security features. This is on by default. And we need to add the program to the Start menu. Let's have a look at the Schedule Reboot tab now. We can choose the restart method. We could have a delayed restart, which is the default. We could choose how long to delay it for, and whether or not we wish to randomize the start time. We can set up prompts and set up the restart message to the primary computer user. Note the client installation is not complete until the client system restarts. Now we can look at the client install feature sets. Here we've given the name to this particular feature set and we've selected the options down the center. We can choose the virus and spyware, we can choose the proactive threat, and we can choose the network threat protection, ticking the boxes, selecting the feature set you require. On the right-hand side, we can choose the full protection for clients, full protection for servers, and basic protection for servers. This details which features are enabled for each of those selections. Here we can see the Exporting Client Install Packages screen. We can choose the export folder of where we wish to place this package. Note we could also tick the Create a single exe for this package. This will create a self-executing bundled executable that you could then place somewhere for the primary user to double-click and install manually. Here we can choose those install settings and features from the drop-downs and the preferred policy mode, computer mode or user mode. We could choose the export settings on the right and we can choose the group that we wish this particular package to apply to. This will mean that all the computers that this package is installed on will then appear in the selected group. Here we can see these in more detail. So the settings and features, we can choose our folder. We can select our type of installation settings. And we can choose our content. Note in step 4, select the content for this package. We can select all content or basic content. If you were to choose the basic content option, the package size would be much smaller, but you would need to update your definitions and signatures later on. Here's our exporting client packages, the policy and control settings. A little bit more about that computer mode and user mode. The computer mode is the most commonly used option, which is where the policies are applying to the actual hardware, the computer itself, and it doesn't matter which user is logged in. If you were to choose the user mode, the policy package or the package that is applying to this will then be moving with the users as they log in. And here's the recommended practice for installing the unmanaged clients. So we can export that unmanaged client package for installation on the system. And here we can see the summary, exporting the package and how it's completed successfully. And then you'd wish to add that package after it's been exported. Let's have a look at installing managed clients. So we can launch the client deployment wizard. We could do that from the welcome page, or we could do it from the start menu. We can launch the install protection client to computers from the drop-down on the common tasks. And we can, of course, launch it from the clients page as well. So once we've got to the client deployment wizard, we've got our 3 options: web link and email, remote push, and save package. The web link and email, as I said, needs to have the client have admin rights to install. If you were to choose the save packages, this will create the executable installation package but will not distribute to the clients. That could be done with some third-party software. With the remote push, it will create that package, either 32 or 64-bit, and it will then create a single setup exe that will be stored in the installation package and then pushed out to the client computers. So installing them using the remote push. Once you've selected that option from the client deployment wizard, you'll get the next question saying, is it a new package or is it an existing package deployment? To choose the existing package deployment, you must have previously created a package and saved it. If you choose the new package deployment, then it will go through and ask you to select the settings and features. Now we can see the client installation settings. On step 1, we can choose the install packages from the 32-bit Windows, 64-bit Windows options. On step 2, we can see the group that we wish this particular package to apply to. One of the reasons why it's a good idea to create your group structure before you create your packages is so that you can make sure you choose your correct group at this stage. We can then choose our install feature sets at step 3 and the settings. And then our content options for all or basic. And then we choose our preferred mode. Is it going to be applying to a computer or to a user? So we can now select the computers this particular package is going to apply to. On the left-hand side, as we're browsing the network, we can select them and add them across to the right-hand side. And then click Send to push that software to the displayed clients. So now we can see the installing and deploying the SEP12.1 client. We can see which ones have been deployed. We can see the deploying the agent remotely. And we can see the report of the deployment summary. This is how, as the security administrators, you decide which ones have been successfully deployed. We can also check the client status. If we go to the selected group, in this case it was the default group, if we see the client hostname, we can see CSO1 now being highlighted, we can see that it's online and it has the green dot next to the icon of its hostname. That tells us a couple of things. It tells us that the package has been deployed and now the client is actually reporting back to the SEPM. It's online. And the fact that there's a green dot there means that it's currently communicating. We could go to the actual client status on the home page on the client. And we can see that this particular client has got a need a restart. So it has the orange icon color. It will need to restart before it's fully protected. So as the administrator, you may well want to run the deployment report. That can be accessed from the reports, and choose your quick reports option and report type of computer status. So configuring an unmanaged detector. So what exactly is an unmanaged detector? Well, it's a client system that is sitting on a particular subnet reporting back the information about ARP traffic that's going on around that network. The SEPM manager will then be able to establish whether or not that information or clients that are reporting that information are actually managed. So by configuring unmanaged detectors, you're able to establish whether or not you have any clients out there that aren't being managed successfully. So we're being proactive in detecting computers which don't have the SEP client installed. So let's now describe how the unmanaged detector works. We have a new client appearing in the bottom right-hand corner, new client name, and that ARP traffic is being picked up by the unmanaged detector that's sitting within that subnet. And it sends the report about this particular new client up to the SEPM. And then the SEPM will then be able to run a report indicating to the administrators that they have a new client online that doesn't have a SEP client installed. It's very easy to enable a client as an unmanaged detector. We go into our particular group, select our client, and enable as unmanaged detector. And you may wish to create certain exclusions to your unmanaged detector list. We can configure unmanaged detector notifications. Here on our notification conditions, we have an unmanaged computers section. And as the administrator, you may wish to be notified when a new unmanaged computer comes online. And we can configure unmanaged detector notifications. So to do that, we go to our monitors page and we can select notifications. Choose the add, and number 4 is unmanaged computers. And that means you'll get the unmanaged notification pop-up appearing. Or we could choose it as an email in this case. Upgrading Symantec Endpoint Protection clients. It's likely that you'll have a number of SEP 11 clients out there that will need to be upgraded to SEP 12 once you have your SEPM installed. To do that, you need to go to the admin page and select Install Packages. You need to define the installation settings and feature set and export that client installation package. You can also run the Upgrade Groups wizard, which will select the upgrade clients within that package. So if we're running the Upgrade Groups wizard, we need to choose the clients to upgrade. You need to ensure that their clients meet the minimum requirements for the SEP 12 client software. The SEP 12.1 uses an MSI-based side-by-side upgrade. And what will happen is it will replace the reboot client settings once it's been rebooted. It means that this method never leaves the client protected. It creates a new folder on the client using the specific path that you specified in the Install tab. And during the installation or migration, it will then take the old software and replace it with the new software on reboot. The old software is then removed completely after the reboot. So how do we run the upgrade groups wizard? We select the package and we specify the groups. We need to choose where to download the installed packages and upgrade settings. And we can choose the settings and schedule. It's a good idea to set up notifications to notify the users before an upgrade, and you can change that message. And that brings us to the end of the deployed clients lesson.